Hey guys, thanks a lot for tuning in and watching one of our technical driving episodes. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. Today, Mark and myself will be heading to Geese Arm South, also called Wheeny Creek, probably one of the best technical rock climbing tracks within 3 hours of Sydney. There are quite a few different entries into Geese Arm South. We're using the probably hardest entry, which is a fairly big step, which definitely tests your approach and departure angle. But it certainly can be done if you pick the right line and just take it very slowly and ease the vehicle down. Good suspension travel is definitely helpful here, and it prevents to lifting wheels off the ground. Next it is Mark's turn in Bambi. He only runs 33-inch tires, so has a bit less clearance than I have there. Slowly. That's coming down now. Straighten up. With a little less suspension travel and smaller tires, you see the passenger rear picking up some air. Wheel in the air, it's alright. Let it come down. Go on, go on, go on, go, 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 go. Go, yeah, that's it. Pretty good day for Geese Arm South, not too hot, supposed to be only 26 degrees. I have a front and rear ARB air leaker in my vehicle, and Mark has a front and rear Detroit auto unlocker in his Jeep. This little V-Rock is pretty easy if you pick a good line, and someone spent a bit of time and packed a lot of rocks, which we couldn't really bother to remove, so we just drove it as it was. Not a crazy step, but it can be actually quite challenging. You have a good hole on the right hand side, you're in a bit of an angle, and you have that tree. The bigger tires and good suspension travel certainly does help here, but you still see that I get pushed a bit to the right, and you don't have too much space there before you have a reasonable drop off. Mark is giving the same step a go. Let's see how he goes with the smaller tires. With small tires and less clearance, he sits somewhere on the frame, and that stops his forward movement. Got to come further here to my side. You just got to be on that edge with your rear wheel. Then drive towards a tree, but just not in it. Straighten up. Yeah. Right hand down, right hand down. With a slightly different line and a bit more throttle, Mark made it also up there. Yes, nice. You have one go. Is that the rule? Oh, otherwise we have to put rocks back in. With the smaller tires, Mark needs more conviction and throttle input to drive the same stuff, but he certainly is not lacking in that. Yeah, go a little bit back. Nice. Someone left his CV here. IFS vehicle. One of the things I really like after building a new vehicle is that every track is new again, because obviously every vehicle drives different, behaves different. So I'm seeing Gisam's house now in a different light. And the left-hand track on this obstacle I haven't driven for a while, so I was keen to give the Jeep a go and see how it goes. Let's quickly analyze that step. It certainly is a bit steeper in real life than it looks here. To the right hand side we have a tree which could become an issue. To the left hand side we have a rock sticking out. Then we have an offset step here with a reasonable deep rut to the left and also a rut to the right, but that had been filled in by rocks. So you want to straddle pretty much the two rock steps and then make sure that you don't slide to the right, because if you get into a funky angle there, that wouldn't be very helpful. A little bit left hand down, not too much. Yeah, go like that and straighten it up. Go, go, go. This is probably one of the hardest sections at Gisam's house. And in particular this line, I don't know with how many vehicles we have struggled there. So I was pretty keen to drive that with a Jeep. Let me show you some older footage of people struggling on this obstacle. It's certainly one of the most technical obstacles, even though it looks like nothing when you stand in front of it. So let's have a look how Mark does on this trip. Mark is lacking a bit clearance here and is sitting on his rock sliders. He is now trying a slightly different line a bit further to the left. Mark gives it another go with a lot of conviction, hoping that he can bump up the vehicle. Oi. Ah. Rope is stuck. If you winch out, just reversing back now a few centimeters. That's it. It's a pretty decent rock step, which is a bit higher than it looks on the video. You really need to bump the rear wheel slightly up as it has an undercut on the left. Nice. Beautiful. This can be another quite tricky section of Gisam South. Depending on the line you take, you can get into quite some side angles. The far left is pretty safe and straight, but I'm trying to drive through the middle and have the left hand side fairly high up on that rock ledge, and you can certainly get into quite some funky angles, which you see me doing here. At the moment I deliberately not always drive really the best line, but the hardest line, or line which I don't think I will make, just to see where the Jeep can take me or can't take me, and yeah, what I can and can't do with that vehicle. It's a bit hard to see here, but my front wheels need to climb another decent step, which is a bit angular, and that moves me to the right hand side towards a tree. It doesn't seem to work too well, so I reverse a little bit back and try to go a bit further to the left. And that does a trick then and gets me up that step. Next it's Mark's turn, and he takes the far left, which pretty much avoids all the side angles, and certainly is a more sensible line for a vehicle on 33-inch tires. The second last obstacle before we hit the lookout is Toolbox Hill, which is quite a challenging obstacle and has caused rollovers in the past. Like with most obstacles on Wheeny Creek, you have quite a few options. I'm taking the second line to the left. The danger here is that your front wheels slip to the right off the rock shelf, which, depending on your suspension setup, can be dangerous, as you could actually roll the vehicle downwards. Right on top of the step is another rock step to the left, so that means you don't have much room. As soon as your front wheels are pretty much up on the top, you need to turn to the right and just skim these big rock steps, otherwise you will end up in very funky angles. So I'm aligning myself, ensuring that I can drive on from there, but when crawling it, you notice how the car creeps over to the right, and I definitely don't want to drop down again with my front wheels. So I gently continue driving, making sure that I avoid the big rock on top towards my passenger side, and hope that the rear doesn't drop in too far to the right. I really made an effort to drive that slow and controlled, as with too much momentum you can really end up pretty bad on that hill. Next it is Mark's turn, and he decided to try the same line. It is a fine line between too much and too little throttle. tiny bit more throttle here would have gotten Mark up that step. It shows how quickly the vehicle can change direction on that non-grippy, rocky surface. If you then have too much momentum, you can easily roll the vehicle down the hill. Mark will need some throttle here to bump their tires up that big rock step. Putting some strategically placed rocks underneath can make all the difference. Okay. This shows beautifully how that small rock can provide enough elevation to manage the tires to grip and get up that rock step.
Good, that's it.
I still don't like my stop and start driving in the Jeep. That's something I'm working on. However, it's mainly really because I have no reduction gears in the transfer case. So the torque and so on, it's not that easy to keep that at the right momentum, to keep that slow crawling speed. So I hope that will change once that reduction case is in. I also noticed when I was on top of the step that my front locker wasn't in. I still have somewhere a slight air leak there and had disabled it, and yeah, only realized really on the last step there. Yeah, that was a decent bit of air time, and it was so light that Mark easily could push down with his hands, so certainly was a pretty good angle. It's a bit hard to see from the bottom here though.
Nice. Makes it look easy. Beautiful.
Mark has a Detroit auto locker, or better unlocker, in the front and the rear.
Should have looked at the step a bit more. Straighten up. I don't think you have the clearance here. Unless you put that foot down. Now you're not going to go into that side. You know, roughly here. And that may give you enough angle to get that belly up. Yeah. Stop. Straighten up. Okay, see how that goes? No, straight. That's it. Ah, nearly. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Having once more driven Geese Arm South, we had quick lunch at the lookout, and you can actually see the fires in the back, and then we turned around. On the way out, I decided to give the hardline a go, which is the same step we drove down at the beginning, but in a slightly different line and angle. Thanks again for watching, guys. I hope you got something out of my video. Please keep in mind, everything I do is self-funded, so it would be greatly appreciated if you could share, like and subscribe, and maybe even head over to Patreon and support me with a small monthly contribution, which will help me create videos like these and the many other videos I do.